We are live. What's up, everybody? My name is Paulo Rubio, aka GN. I'm here with the one and only Dean Franco. How's it going, brother?
Good. And, again, I want to thank you for doing this. I know you're a busy guy. And so I appreciate you taking the time and, and the willingness to do this for me. Thank you.
Of course, Dean. And by the way, in case things get a little heated, I want to remind everybody that it was Dean Franco. This was Dean's idea. Wasn't my idea. This is Dean's idea. Dean, I'm going to do my intro again because this is a fresh broadcast.
Sure.
But basically what I said was that, Kalis Ilustrisimo, just like any Filipino martial arts system, is going to have its share of drama, politics, disagreements, things like that. And I'm going to ask some questions that some people are going to be like, you should not ask that question, Paolo. That is a rude one. And then I'm going to ask questions that people are going to be like, oh my God, I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
And what I was saying was that I can't please everybody. So I'm just going to do me and you do you.
Yeah,
if I ask a question that you don't feel comfortable with answering, don't answer it. You know what I mean? Because
you brought up a good point, though. We have to be true to ourselves. I mean, like, that's what makes you and that's what makes me. I mean, so, the one thing I would like to just mention for everybody that's watching, so they don't draw erroneous conclusions or think this is that, I urge people to watch all the 5 episodes. This is basically where I drew my conclusions. So if they have doubts or something, they should really watch all 5. And as far as my intentions right from the get-go were, 1, to bring more exposure to KI as a whole, and 2, to hopefully get sanctions, teachers, groups, however you want to use for, description, to work together. And we are seeing some semblance of that. Guru Brandon just last weekend got together with the Kiro group and all that. So if this is where it starts and it takes off, then home run,
That's really awesome. And again, we're not going to tiptoe around the fact that some people don't like each other, right? Some groups consider other groups to be rival. And, I want to say for the most part, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that FMA is still very much in its infancy as far as its global reach, right? And so there tends to be, when there is a shortage of students, I mean, the people are going to cannibalize one another, right? Or they're going to get that perception, and instead of really, and this goes with every Filipino martial arts system where there's division, they're going to want to propose their superiority, right? One over the other. So first things first, let's get this out of the way, right? You're going to have a bias based on your experience, right? And so let us know first and foremost right away what Kalis Ilustrisimo affiliation, system, or school you love and you belong to. Not to say you're not open to others, but who are you?
So definitely open to others. And I think that I've proven that with my track record, the fact that I trained with Avenir first, which is the majority of KI, David Gould. There we go.
That's a cool banner, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure. The KI through the Mako lens through David Gould, who is an unsung hero as far as I'm concerned, just really, low key. Burton, and now ultimately, Guru Brandon under the Ricketts sanction.
Okay, so can you just list it one more time? So, Avenir, does that?
Yeah. So what happened was, just to give, not going a long tirade here, I was, when Mark Wiley's book came out, I became immersed in just with KI. The problem was there was just nobody around for as teachers. Mark Wiley was a total, but he was moving all around. I couldn't track him down or get a hold of him. Nobody on the East Coast whatsoever. So finally, I contacted Bong Avenir because I saw right away it was KI, even though his name was basically just his surname as far as his style. And he says, look, I have this guy in Chicago. He just, moved there from the Philippines. His name is Marvin Mendoza. And I'm like, perfect. This might be the, and at that point, to be honest, I kind of surrendered to the fact that I may not get KI. But I said, well, you know what? Perhaps this is the next best thing. I like what they do, what I've seen on the videos. So I went there, wonderful experience with Marvin. Really got the kind of the nuts and bolts of KI through their lens and flavor. And after that, I wanted more. I'm like, gosh, this is truly what I've always been looking for. So then Burton, I was a student of Burton already, and one day goes, look, I know you really want KI and all that. And at this point, I'm borderline obsessed. So he says, look, I just want you to know my background. I was over there. I trained with them this. And I'm like, you know what? He's offering, I'm fine. At that point, I also started traveling down to Mississippi pre-COVID, 2017, to see David Gould, who was under Edgar, PG Edgar, who obviously, LeMayco is 50% KI. All the edge weapon material, for the most part, is KI, with some PTK in there. So I got his lens. And then ultimately, of course, Vico and Brandon via Ricketts sanction.
So straight up question, Dean. So you train KA under multiple people. Fundamentally, is it very different? We're not talking about the personalities or the teaching styles of these individuals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is it more or less, you got your Engaño and Media Fraile and and all
great question. So they each, so when you look at the core strikes, they're going to be very similar. Some of the names might be different. De Cadena, Arco, for instance, for example. Some stress the Engaños more, okay? Burton stressed to me, find the gaps. If you look at Ilustrisimo when he was sparring, it was always long range. He was finding the gaps. I mean, as you know, you can hit somebody before, during, or after. Okay.
Yeah.
So find the gaps with using those trees as your kind of barometer. So Burton was very instrumental in that. So not so much on the defensive movements, because he basically was honest with me. Some of these are going to be hard to pull off,
Yeah.
He was very frank and honest in that way. And that's something I kind of appreciated.
Sure.
David Gould, I'm telling you, people just don't, because he's just so low key. That guy is probably up to date, one of the best people I've ever been in front of. His fraction in Una Pagata is on top of this world. He does the most.
When you say Una Pulgada, that's just one's ability to manage and gauge distance and proximity, right?
Exactly.
It's this whole 1 inch principle.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely correct. So is it truly an inch? No, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. But the point being is, it misses you. In other words, what Dave always instilled in me, there's a constant yin and yang, opportunity and threat. So while I'm getting away of the threat, do I have opportunity? So maybe I made my business an adjustment footwork too much. Granted, I made the threat. I have no opportunity. So that's the balancing act where you just want to miss. So you do have opportunity.
Sure.
He is just unbelievable in that arena. So that I got that. That was, to this day, still is probably the biggest as far as tactics. David Gould never gave me a drill. He's yet to give me a single drill.
I love that. So that means you guys must have sparred a lot then, right?
Oh, it's just, and he's, again, I mean, again, I'm not saying there's not like him. I'm saying, as far as my experience to present date,
So outside of full speed with competitive energy involved, right? I think this Una Pulgada thing is pretty much dead in the water. Like it doesn't really exist in demos. It cannot really exist in consensual exchanges. It can only really exist when there's competition between two practitioners, because that blade is going to be moving faster with more intent, right?
You're such on the right track. So look at this.
Oh, dang, he's standing up.
So this is where, so if I want to employ the tact of Una Pulgada, the moment I make contact, whether it's a cruzada, a pluma, a fraile, there's a beat.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's also going to affect traction. But if this is coming and I do maybe elastico, for instance, but much to your point, if you were doing defensive movements, you're doing Australia, whatever, outside Australia, you're Friday, whatever you're doing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be you're indirectly, it's going to be tough for you to focus on those tactics because like you said, it's going to be kind of more in a live format,
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
there's so
you're
much
right.
respect in Filipino martial arts. And I often see demos in Kalis Ilustrisimo where it's like, wow, that guy was amazing. But I'm like, man, that was his student. That was a demo. And you're gonna want to make your instructor look good. I think KI really shines
They do. Why?
under
Let's
pressure.
face it.
Under pressure, man. I love Kalis Ilustrisimo. I'm not a student like you guys are students, but I take the fundamental concepts of it. And I'm like,
Mm,
oh, I don't always say this. I'm like, oh, that exists in this system too. It just looks a little bit different, or
yeah.
it's the same universal combat principle, but expressed differently, right?
Yeah.
So who amongst your instructors do you think was the most technical?
Well, I want to piggyback on something you said, and then
Yeah,
I'll answer. You're absolutely right. Let's face it, KI is aesthetically pleasing. It's really it's incredible to watch. I mean,
it's
look,
pretty.
their Punta Daga is, it's beautiful. I mean, it is, the plumas, the it's really nice to watch. It really is. Um,
There's a
it was
stoic energy to it and a confidence when expressed.
absolutely,
It's beautiful. Like
absolutely,
Bikini's like, rah, we're gonna
yeah.
get you, and Khaleesi Illustrissimo is like, yes, you can try. It's absolutely
So,
beautiful, and that's why I think these two pair so well together, right? Like when
no,
you're
you're,
sparring a KI
you're
guy, Sean Zerger and Fabrizio for me
yeah,
are the two top guys in terms of people who give me problems
yeah,
when we spar like full with dulled out machetes.
yeah,
They're stoic,
yeah.
but at the same time, it's like they don't give you much in terms of tolerances for mistakes. And
Right,
it's
because
beautiful.
there's a whole thing of, well, I don't know how deep you went. The small circling. In other words, you should not see this in KI. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're saying that's too big. It's too.
Right. It should be. I mean, very small,
Yeah,
recovering.
yeah,
So why? Because it's a freaking sword, as you know.
yeah,
So you're 12. So you come across like this. I mean, so taking account for again not being countered, which I'm sure it kind of
yeah.
sounded like when you were going against Sean and Fabrizio. That's
Oh,
I guess what
killer
you were
dudes.
experiencing. You
It
know,
was like a Venus flytrap. It's so inviting because and I think this is the concept of engaño, where
it
they
is.
almost present these openings to
Mm-hmm.
deceive you into thinking it's an opening, and then
That's
before you
it.
know
Yeah.
it, ta-da, you
That's
got
it.
a
So
gash.
everybody thinks that Gagne is this. Okay, I'm going to go, cross cutting. I'm going to give you the open, and then I go to the close. I mean, yeah, that can be a Gagno, but
Yeah.
there's so much more to the Gagno, as you just mentioned, than changing your
Yeah.
angle of your strike, your
So
trajectory.
is engaño then like the principle of deception? Is that all that is instead
Yeah,
of a
well, yeah,
specific move?
it could be a presentation of what's open. I mean, attack. You
Mm,
got so listen. I mean, not
I
the
love
pair.
KI.
In other words, okay, we know we associate the five ways attack with JKD for good reason. However, KI had it long before JKD. You know, what I mean, Illustrissimo, while it wasn't categorized as that, as far as tactics
Sure.
were concerned, but they were there, and this goes for other FMA systems too. I'm not just saying KI has those as
Right.
well. I mean,
Let's be real. It goes, I mean, these are universal and timeless combat
there
principles,
you go.
right?
He just
Deception.
made him famous actor for he just 100% right. They're not just unique to JKD or FMA. 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I gotta get back to your question though. You asked far as tactics or
Yeah,
more
who's
the more technical.
the most technical instructor in Kalis Ilustrisimo, according to
Vico is very technical with strikes. Where I mean, the proper mechanics, very deep into that. David Gould, technician, and far as management of space, time,
you?
distance. all that. So it's a really nice kind of difference between the two because while they're both very technical, they're technical in different aspects.
Right.
David Gould goes, look, I don't care. I'm not looking for perfect. I want it to be right. Refinement, the elusive perfection will come over time. I want it to be right, but I'm more important that you are understanding where you need to be, where you don't need to be or shouldn't be, and all
Right.
that. So very deep and into that. Vico, have you ever seen Vico striking?
No, no.
I mean, he just looks good. I don't
Yeah.
know. He just, he's very good. And Brandon too. I mean,
How old is Brandon?
this was incredible. 28 years old.
Wow. So he must suck.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
He gets that, right? He must get that a lot. Like,
yeah.
how
Well,
good can
here's
you
the thing.
be at
So
20?
this kind of give you some historical context here over
Sure, sure, sure.
chronological
I like Brandon, by
timeline.
the way, in case people didn't get my sarcasm.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah,
cool
yeah.
cat.
So I was taking private with Brandon. We got getting to know one another better. And I said, and I'm like, it kind of came up through conversation. I'm like, well, why are you not propagating your father's lineage more and all this? And his
Mm,
answer at the time, I'll never forget this because there was an aspect of empathy from me at the same time. Like, this is ridiculous. You need to. And he says, well, who am I at my age? And I said, Brandon, you need to go
mm.
out there and push your father's lineage. Don't be concerned about what age you are. You have something to offer the KI community. So he
Good for
started
you.
getting more privates, more exposure,
Hmm.
and but what I think he's doing for 28 years old, I think is phenomenal. I just the
Does he
way
have his
he,
own system now,
well,
or the
I
Rick?
mean,
Is Ricketts a system?
no. So Ricketts is just one of the lineages, basically.
So
Okay.
he just calls it Kalis Ilustrisimo then.
Yeah, Kalis Ilustrisimo, but he's also saying, but now I just saw a groupie page rather, and it said Ricketts FMA. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I haven't got a chance to talk to him
Yeah,
tomorrow night. But what he's doing at his age, the maturity he's exhibiting,
yeah.
and people are attracted to him because there's an honesty about him. He's charismatic, but yet so approachable, incredibly technical, and
Hmm.
there's just something radiant about him, and I'm just so glad that he's coming more out in the forefront now as
Good
opposed
for
to
him.
kind of staying behind the sidelines.
Do you know how old he was when his father passed?
He was, I believe, gosh, I think the father passed in 2011 if I'm not mistaken. So I think he was 11. Don't quote me, but 11. He was young.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was in
right.
his teens.
I can kind of understand a little bit his some of these natural insecurities, right? Because how good could you have been at 11? And then
Yeah.
you, of course, you had access to all the videos and all that stuff. But I
His
think
older brother was extremely instrumental, Bruce.
there you go. I
Yeah.
think from how you've described Brandon to me, um, nothing but positive stuff. But if I'm gonna sort of read between the lines, he had to put in the work, and I think maybe there's some insecurity about just carrying the lineage because I'll be straight up. There's somebody in line to be the next head of Pikiti Tersha, and you know by all accounts he wants that role, but the community doesn't recognize him as somebody who is you know
Yeah.
who can live up to it, which is fine. Like people grow into these roles, right? But it seems to
Yeah.
me, based on what you've said, that Brandon, as he is right now, is already a great instructor.
I think so, and I think he's so open-minded too. He definitely takes into account your body type,
Mm-hmm.
your past training. There's no rigid and all that. While he'll definitely push, and I don't know if this is even correct, saying pushing it, but like he'll push the nuances of as far as lineage. I mean, do you know what makes? In other words, do you know what makes the Kiro? I mean, the Ricketts sanctions known for?
No. So the
Hips.
the Rickett system is known for something.
Hips.
Oh, Dean, before you show me the hips,
Yeah.
I already love where this is going. There's so much FMA without hips.
Yeah.
And it's just for show.
So in other words, let's take V. Sometimes it's called V Arco V. So in slow motion, it's V Arco V. But watch the hips. Boom. I mean,
yeah.
There's no mistaking when you see a Ricketts practitioner, you're going to see hips. I mean, there's why?
I'm sold.
Yeah.
So the moment you said hips, old man still can. You cracking me up. The hips don't lie. That is that Shakira. That is Shakira. Hips don't lie.
Oh, Shakira. Who's that old man?
Old man still can. Isn't that a great name?
I
love this guy. Yeah. So yeah, the engagement of the hips, man, is critical in all fighting, right? And we often see a lot of FMA. Exactly. And I see a lot of FMA, and I'm guilty of it too when I want to look nice and pretty, where I don't engage my hips. It's about the trajectories and the angles and the directional changes. That has its place, but man, and when I spar, I don't really hurt my opponent that bad. Like, I'm not a very powerful striker, but I've faced a lot of powerful strikers, and it sucks to face them. Me trying to be Tinkerbell, but
yeah.
So the Ricketts is known for hips.
100%, and where that came from is, in other words, okay, let's take the knowns of KI. Okay, so why you see like subtle differences in their approach, their methodology. Well, let's look at their backgrounds. Okay. So Brandon's father had a very karate sagasa, kicking, all that. Was a phenomenal kicker. I mean, Bird told me like his sidekick was, off the charts. So that power, I mean, just that. Also, Ricketts' father liked boxing. So,
dude, I'm gonna take Ricketts. Friggin' KI, boxing and hips. Go on. Sorry.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So
don't get too biased now, Dean. Okay. Don't be too biased.
Yeah. So the late Montoni had a Balintawak background. So apparently from the people I talked to, very fast hands for the soplets and stuff like that. Very good feet. I mean, supposed to be an incredible feeder. I mean, obviously Montoni was, off the charts. And all that. Now, and then when you look at Edgar had the combo. Edgar was short, stocky. I mean, Edgar brought it. Yuli had background from Balintawak, definitely some more arts. I mean, when you look at Yuli's movement, so each kind of had something before they came. You know what I mean? So of course that bled through. I mean, how could it not? You know what I mean? So here's the argument. Well, like one guy was telling, I'm not gonna say his name, goes, yeah, well, if you want to get the Pierce, KI, you go to, Ricketts, or you go to Kiro, Donnie Diego's lineage. Well, first of all, the moment it left Tatang's hands, it wasn't pure anymore. You know what I mean? So you're gonna try to tell me Ricketts and Tony Diego is more pure than when Yuli takes Bahasabu, puts it over there, and just gives you KI. I'm training with Yuli now once a week now for the last couple of months. His pure KI is on. It's incredible. So you're trying to tell me just because he formed Bahasabu that he doesn't have a KI lens? Are you kidding me?
I agree with you, Dean, in that people often use authenticity and purity as a selling point. And I think people want that. People want to believe that they're studying as close to the original source material as possible. But by all accounts, Tatang wasn't a very good teacher. Right? He was somebody that people observed, took notes from, and then codified. But Tatang never had his actual system codified.
It was
Is that correct?
systematized. Okay,
Right.
it wasn't systematized. We know that. So I mean, and much to your
Okay.
point, what you just said. So look at this from a marketing standpoint. Okay, so look at Edgar. He was more concerned about Lameko. Okay,
Yeah.
Yuli. Okay, Bahasabu and all that. Okay, so all right, so indirectly they kind of took themselves out of the KR marketing just by virtue of nomenclature, what they called their system. However, though, that
Hmm.
does not mean they could not give you Carolina. So if you're new and you're somewhat naive, and somebody says, okay, well, if you want the real KI, go over there.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you could just totally like miss out on somebody like Yuli or somebody under that was under Edgar or and all
Yeah.
that because of what? Like you kind of mentioned, marketing and kind of what you're hearing through,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah. People want that connection. Yeah, I read an interesting book called "Predictably Irrational." It was a New York Times bestseller for years, and one of the concepts that I really learned from that is this overvaluation of things that we own,
Mm.
right? So, like, if we're trying to sell a car that was the first car that we did
Yeah.
this in, and we souped it up. When we sell that car in the open market, it's going to be valued less because it doesn't have this sense of ownership. And the same thing happens with martial arts. If you take
Mm,
Cairo or Ricketts or this version or that version, you're going to want to sell that,
mm,
right? And overvalue it. Whereas I think the true, and this is me infusing my thoughts and opinions again, I think authentic Kalis Ilustrisimo is in the expression of it. It
mm.
isn't in a technical manual. It isn't in, oh, my teacher was spent more time with Tatang, therefore this is more, which is that's how it goes, right? By the way, I wanted to mention you've been taking lessons from Yuli Romo.
Correct.
I saw some old footage of him move,
It's freaking
and I was
yeah.
like, strange movements, but incredible in its application. He was
Yeah.
very playful,
Yeah.
almost like this. I don't want to say dance, right? But there was a lightness and a playfulness, which is really a confidence in his movements. And he was like, ba, 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 ba. And I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
I know the
Yuli
one you're
Romo, man.
talking about. It was just here. I mean, here's the thing. I believe he's 75 years old. And if you see the way he moves now, I mean, so in other words, he records the things on Zoom for me while we're dancing. I mean, for 75 years old, the way he moves, it's incredible. I only can hope to, even partially move like that when I'm 75. But to say he is just incredible. I mean,
He
just the
is.
way now but he also has different things
Mm-hmm.
that he kind of stressed and all that. Yuli was one of those guys, and this is what makes Yuli to me special. And could you say, quote unquote, the missing link? I think there's an argument for that. And this is why I feel that way. And here's what frustrates me about the cat community. Most of what we see of Ilustrisimo is on the YouTube videos from the Ricketts collection when he was in his twilight years. And what was he doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Hanging step.
Yeah.
Why? Because he was in his twilight years. So is that to
Mm-hmm.
say he wasn't doing other footwork when he was younger? So mid
Yeah.
70s, Tony Diego met him. I think it was a few weeks, a month thereafter, Yuli came, very shortly after Mong Tony. So when I look at now, I've been very lucky and I'm very appreciative of the privy to see some of the early 80s videos of Billy Shisimo. You can't believe the way he moved then, comparatively speaking, to what we're seeing today on YouTube. It is completely night and day. So when I see Yuli now, I see the closest thing of what I witnessed from the Ricketts, again, video library of the Shisimo. So when people say like, well, he moves like Ilustrisimo. Half these people I haven't even seen the early. I should say, not half actually. the good majority have never seen Ilustrisimo in those early 80s moves because they don't have
Yeah.
privy to any of the video. So how can you say that? And then and furthermore, in conjunction, say that perhaps again, you Lee, that he doesn't have the true expression.
It's ridiculous. Dean, if I may interject, this is a problem that I see in Pikiti Tertia. I'm sorry to make this about Pikiti Tertia, but I mean,
no, you're looking at the parallel a point that you want to make. So no, yeah.
Just the idea that this problem exists in other FMA systems where people try to copy how the system founder moves way later down. Like they're already old. Like there are new Pikiti Tertia practitioners now who try to move like Grand Yuhan Liu Gahe now. And I'm
Which
dude,
absurd.
It's ridiculous. And then they're going, well, it's authentic. Like, well, it's authentic for him because he's 82
in 2022 now. I mean,
right. And so I think a lot of these concepts you really need to have these concepts pass through you, and you need to spar. You need some competition to see how you can express these concepts. Otherwise, you're copying for a lack of a better term, you're copying a physically degraded version of what you think authentic is, because people change. Like Tatang Ilustrisimo was different when he was in his 40s, right? And then people are watching videos of him in his 70s, and I'm like, this is the proper Lutang.
Well, and actually, the videos I referenced, in other words, he passed away in 97. I think he's 94. So the bulk of the videos that are seen on YouTube are somewhere early 90s. So he was late 80s and all that. So yeah, exactly to your point. I mean, if that's what you're modeling KI, but here's the thing though. No. Still nothing. Yeah, no, I definitely still not hearing you. If anybody's watching, are you able to hear me? I can't hear Paulo.
All right, Dean, can you hear me now?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, much better.
Wow. Woo-hoo. Damn. Thank you, guys.
Much better.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you don't need to tell me, man, about technical difficulties running an interview.
Man, this is rough, bro. This is rough. Thank you guys for bearing with us. I hope you guys are finding this conversation illuminating. I'm going to get to some of your questions now. All right, Dean, we've talked about KI, kind of gone on a tangent.
I tell you, just off a side note, you want to know Cat, who knows a lot?
Who?
He's just not coming out, and I hope he does. And I consider him my senior in KI. We talk once a month, and I just pick his brain, and he's so helpful. And Elric. Yeah, Elric knows more than people think he does. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. No, I like Elric. He knows a lot of things.
Like I told you at the beginning of the show, like, Elric is, man, you and him are special. Yeah. So
I really like Elric. He set up a gauntlet for me when I was in Manila, and he made me spar a bunch of people, which was really good. And Elric is actually, here's why I like Elric, by the way, for you guys who don't know who Elric is, he is just in some ways he's behind closed doors, right? In FMA. He knows a lot of people. He's a secret holder kind of guy.
He's got a wealth of information in so many arenas, though. Oof.
He's kind of a researcher. Really awesome dude. Really awesome dude. I went to his house in the Philippines and I trained a little bit with him and his brother, and I filmed it. And then at the end, they're like, "You can't show any of that." And I'm like, "Don't you know who I
Thank
am?
you.
Thank you for this burden I carry with me now.
Yes.
Thanks, Jun. This is."
But one day you'll get a call. Paulo, you may release it.
That's okay. I have stuff like this from a lot of people.
Yeah.
People think that I because I post so much and I express my opinions, they think that it's all out there. I've got a ton of footage that's like never to be released. But speaking of Elric, he's got some questions for you, and we're gonna get to the point of this podcast. 35 minutes in, it was a nice little
Sure.
diversion.
Yeah.
Okay, Dean. From Elric, what was your goal, or what were your goals for doing this interview series?
Okay. So my goals were a few. First and foremost, I really wanted to bring exposure to this art that I've become to love and that I want to flourish in, and finally found my home to refine till my passing. And I wanted other people to see this, but I wanted them to see it through the lens of all the sanctions, instead of me just picking out one and all that. I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to be shown, to express, to demonstrate basically what they do under the sun, Ki. So we have the planets under the sun. I want all the planets to showcase. Secondly, my other big goal was, by doing this, and we get people together in the same interview and all that who normally might not be, would this ignite some fusion, some joint ventures to train together? And we already seen evidence of that. Matter of fact, Elric and Brandon just last weekend went to Kiro to go train. So it has to start somewhere.
Mhm.
So those were like my bigger goals. My last goal, which was the least insignificant, me just getting more knowledge from listening to all these people, because I far from know it all. I consider myself on the bottom. I'm concerned they're all my seniors. You know what I mean? So to me, it was a wonderful learning opportunity to hear from all these different people and their interpretations, their experiences, stories, and etc.
That's really good. And you know what? I think to a degree, that's what we're all trying to do. Like, again, going back to this sense of ownership. When we practice something and we find great joy in it, we just want to share that, right, with as many
Ooh,
people as possible. Unfortunately, sometimes that comes out in the wrong way, and sometimes even when we have the best of intentions. And I found
mm,
this. I mean, you have great intentions with FMA discussion. I think everybody knows that. But even then, when you share something that you love or that you find value in, there are some people whose first natural reaction it is to go, "That's wrong," or "That sucks," or
mm,
"This is better. You should try this other thing." And it almost seems like an insult to the thing they love when we share the thing we love,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
that's
there's emotional attachments that come in. I see it every day in FMA discussion.
yeah,
You can be as objective as humanly possible, and it just is not going to matter to a few because of attachments or
right.
affiliations, or they don't want, like, matter of fact, like all the knife stuff I was putting back then. Like, I knew there were people that knew it was good, but they were walking by it like this and pretending not to see it because they have to look at themselves in the mirror now and all that. Emotional and disconnect. But so much to your point, totally agree. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. So, just a piece of advice, guys, because this is how I've lost, but I've been at this social media thing for a little while, and I've noticed something. It's I think Dean, FMA discussion is a big part of your journey, and you use that to express what you find value in, and I do the same with mine.
Yeah.
Whenever I cycle through my interests within FMA, it's almost like, how when people watch professional sports and they love this player so much because of what they do for the team,
Mm.
Like they love this player, but the moment their jersey changes, all of
Like,
a sudden they're an asshole.
yeah, they're
You know, it's
right.
the same player. It's the
Yeah,
same
I
player.
know
So
they're
I found
ostracized, and you know what I mean. It's like, yeah,
exactly. So it's like, I love Bolin to walk, right? I love Pikiti Tersha, I love Kalis Ilustrisimo, I love Estacado de Campo. And it's like when
mm.
I show one good thing from one system, they're like, well, that exists in Pikiti Tersha.
No, you're
And
just
because
like,
it's so, and it's like people don't understand. Like, I love Filipino martial arts so much
right.
that I'm going to move around,
Yeah,
and
look at
right?
me. I mean,
Look at you. I
I went
mean,
from Ensemble, Sayoc, Atienza. I don't tell anybody this, but I'm certified Dose Paris. I just don't tell anybody.
that's like a secret. It's like,
um, to Burton, Avenir, Amok.
mm-hmm.
Why? Because I just love it, and I'm a methodology geek. I want to know your what and how you apply it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm just fascinated by that. But I finally found my home, KI. So
KI is it, huh?
I
All
think
right.
so. I can't. I
KI is
let
okay.
something. Yeah, it's
Whatever.
that's sword art. You know what I mean?
Come on. Okay. What next question from Elric. Was there a particular lens you were trying to understand KI through?
Great question. And I would say if you one historically, okay, so here's
Hmm.
in other words, some of the disappointment, I shouldn't say disappointment, that I didn't find out. I really wanted one of my goals was going to this on the lower end of the spectrum was I really wanted historically to find out if anybody could give some background when during Illustrimo's formidable years when he spent it down in Mindanao with the Sultan, the bodyguard, something happened there. And what I mean by that something, um, there was an obvious influence of tactics and just techniques that made him different from the other, as far as others in the family art, his uncles, for instance, and his time with Pedro Cortez, the bounty hunter. I was hoping to get a little more on that. Um, but still though, overall, I did definitely get more information historically speaking. So I definitely came out of it more knowledgeable,
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I didn't get to, but still overall, I'm still very happy with the findings.
Okay. Out of all the interviews that you did, who was the most articulate? Like, who explained it at a high level?
I thought Mark Wiley did a phenomenal job. And there's somebody else too that obviously he's not coined a pillar or significant, but man, that guy
What are
truly
these?
understands what Ilustrisimo is about. Talk to him. Just
Yeah.
listen. Yeah, folks, if you're watching this, I really urge you to watch the first one. It's Mark Wiley and Brandon Ricketts. Mark Wiley, listening to that guy, I thought he did really well. Who else? I thought Sean Zerger did well.
I like Sean. I call him
Yeah,
Sword Jesus because he looks like
yeah.
Jesus.
um, they all, I gotta they all did well. But far as like who really articulated well and had exposure to the different ones, I think
Yeah.
it just because, and why? I mean, Mark Wiley's written books. He was over there early. He trained with,
Yep.
by mere exposure,
Yeah.
if anything else,
I mean, some guys, honestly, teaching is a separate art. Speaking is a separate art, right? So I can understand. I mean, the guy's an author, whereas
Exactly. Yeah.
someone like Yuli Romo, for example, he was my favorite interview out of the whole bunch, but he
Yeah, I
barely
know.
really spoke, right? And it was all
I
about
know. And it was so
for
sad. I wanted to bring him back on, and it just is not working out. And I understand why he doesn't want to do it. But that was probably, I gotta be honest, why you would, and I know where you're going with this. I'm going to tell you because I truly enjoyed it myself, Yuli. I have everybody knows this, kind of that knows Indica. I have a very soft spot for Yuli. And it's always been there. I can't really articulate. There's just a soft spot. So it kind of was heartbreaking when he went to Tagalog and it didn't get fully translated what he was saying. and which was a little disappointing. And so I wanted to bring him back because Yuli has so much information from back. Yuli was one of those guys who. So here's the thing too, and this, I mean, we're going a little out of the question, but it's still going to be relevant. So okay, so we all know when somebody was feeding Ilustrisimo, there'd be guys either on the side, behind, taking notes, doing this, or till the camcorder came from Ricketts, early 80s. Yuli is one of those guys. He always said to me, I always would be on a back angle so I could see his trajectory. And why that's important is the engano. So the coming here and then that arco coming through. And that's one of the things you notice. Engano, check, mate. Engano, check, mate. So that's one of Big Yuli's things. And for Yuli, because of the angle Yuli is watching from, he was able to see this. So Yuli is fascinating when you listen to him and talk about like what he did back then and all that. So I know I went a little off script there. Sorry.
No, it's okay. That was a dual interview with somebody named Ray Galang. Is that
Ray Galang? So Ray Galang was part.
Are they buddies?
Yeah, no, they get along. Yeah.
Okay, but they belong to two separate KI.
Well, the reason I put those two together, they're the remaining two pillars.
Oh, they're pillar. What are these pillars? How many pillars? What's
the deal? Okay, so that's a whole thing within this thing is the pillars and how I believe. Well, before I get to that, so there were 5 pillars. Okay, so it said that Ray Galan came up with the pillars during when he coordinated the Australian trip and all that. So the 5 pillars were Ray. So Ray was the last person to come around and train. Okay, so obviously Yuli, obviously Christopher Ricketts, Tony Dago, and of course Edgar. Those are the 5. So the reason why they say that because those are the ones that were propagating or trying to spread KI. Okay, now the problem with that is you had some others. I mean, you had Mang Norman in Canada.
Wait, Mang Romi is not a pillar?
No.
Well, that's weird.
See what I mean?
Oh, I got you. Like, how do you become a pillar?
Okay.
I mean, Mang Romi should be a pillar, like, man.
But here's the thing, though. You got to look at it as a descriptive term. The problem is what happened was because those 5 were coined the pillars, I forget what year, it kind of took off. So people look at those 5. Okay, well, hey, if you want to learn KI, those are 5. And out of these 5, Ricketts and Diego's, the really 2 sanctions to do it because they stayed in KI. They didn't rename their styles or whatever. Whereas obviously Edgar did, Lameko, Yuli, Bahatsabu, Ray Galan, Bakan. Okay, so we have those 5 now. Obviously, that caused dissension. People were left out. It made these 5 kind of. I mean, so for instance, if you look at Monromi, I mean, he was there early. How do I know he was there early? Ricketts videos. I've seen him at a younger age feeding Ilustrisimo while Ricketts is filming.
Oh man! So who invented the whole pillars thing? Ray Galan.
Okay. It said Ray Galan, but I think. So before we jump, so I think the intention was because he looked at himself in these 5s, the ones that were propagating the art. Okay.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
So,
that's cool.
So that's what's told to me. Now, could there have been other reasons? Of course. You know what I mean? Could they have been self-serving?
For sure.
Of course.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, like if I were to create a pillar system, I mean, I'm going to pick the people that I get along with the most and who obviously serve the system. Okay. Do you know like what happens when a pillar dies? I mean, is there a voting?
When the pillar dies, okay, so let's look at this. So current status quo, we have 2 remaining pillars. We have Ray Galan, Master Yuli. Obviously, Edgar passed first to pass, then Master Ricketts, and then GM Tony. Okay, so now, so let's look at kind of who's taking over the system when they died. Okay, all right. So when we look at, so Tony Dago made, from what I understand, made Tommy die in Canada, the heir. He currently resides in Canada. Okay. Towards out the west, Vancouver.
Yeah.
Supposed to be, I have old lady exceptional. But because he's in Canada, it just made sense for Arnold to run the Kiro group because Arnold obviously spent an incredible amount of time with Montoni.
Arnold Narzo?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously it just makes sense for him to do it. So there's some questions. Well, who's the heir of Tony? So some people absolutely say it's Master Tommy Dai. But if you look at who's really propagating Kiro section, it's Arnold. And plus, I think Canada kind of coined their name differently and all that. So that's Kiro. Okay. LeMaco, just unfortunate period. So when Edgar died, the nucleus of LeMaco was the 25 backyard guys. Mark Denny, Steve Godey, David Gould, Felix Valencia, Roger Abulis, so on and so forth.
Leonard Trigg.
No, Leonard Trigg was not. No.
Apparently, he's the system.
Yeah, because the wife appointed him that.
Oh,
the
Leonard Trigg's amazing.
Of the background group, the 25 who Edgar gave the special quote unquote material, from what I hear from many. Okay, it's not me making this up. Okay, they kind of scattered. So Roger is perpetuating. I mean, Roger calls his different name. Felix, unfortunately, just passed. Mm-hmm. David's in Mississippi, but all in all, very little people there's only a handful that are pushing LeMaco. Yeah. So it's a mess. I shouldn't say a mess. That's wrong. I should say it's just nowhere as getting propagated to unfortunate circumstances.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a mess to me, but anyway.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to be nice. Yeah.
I know.
So
back to the pillars, Dean, real quick.
Sure.
There are two remaining pillars.
Correct.
I've not ever heard of a structure that's been held up by two pillars. I think if there's going to be a pillar system and it's going to stick and it's going to have some value, there ought to be some sort of a process whereby pillars are either delegated, earned, voted in.
Right. Well, you bring up an excellent point and something I was thinking about. Okay, well, there's two, and I dare bring this up because because the whole thing with the pillars caused a lot of issues. So do we want to just let it just kind of fall by the wayside and let it go away, or do we want to replace the ones that unfortunately passed off? That's the question. So Monromi. So obviously, let's go backwards. Okay, so they made those five. Obviously, Monromi should have been a pillar based on the credentials that were being used to make the others. Master Norman could have been, there's an argument for him. So, but anyway, so you got two left. So we got Ricketts sanction. So when Ricketts moved to San Diego, he was basically just running out of San Diego with his sons. Unfortunately, he passed. Bruce went over, started restaurants. Brandon there now. Brandon, of course, now is Manila. So Brandon finally now has come out, bringing his father's lineage more exposure now by actively teaching it. But it was quiet. So you see where I'm going with this? Who was the only really active community as far as AI?
That's really strange.
Kiro. And that's nothing against Kiro. Doesn't mean it's bad. I'm just saying by virtue of circumstances, Kiro was the only one pushing KI. So why? Okay, so this is where I'm going with this. That's why a good chunk of the FMA community thinks that Kiro is the place to go to. And I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
And I understand why they feel that way, because they're the ones that have been around longest and stayed kind of in the pure KI lane, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas LeMaco is, scattered and, all that. And Ricketts, while still there, didn't really come out because they're kind of in the restaurant business until recently, Brandon coming out. Obviously, Yuli, Bahasabu. You see what I mean? Kind of circumstantial, how these things kind of fell into place. And now what we have status quo.
It's strange. Here's a comment from Romeo Bravo. Two uninformed and unknowledgeable opinions. Referring to you and me.
If that's who I think it is, he's somebody you want to immediately block.
Well, you know,
I
I
blocked him
don't.
out of FMA discussion. And matter of fact, I know it is. He's just an
Yeah.
absolute troublemaker. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
and there's a
but
reason
that's
I
his
brought it up.
opinion. That's
Yeah.
his opinion.
There's a reason
Yeah.
I bring him up. There's a lot of these guys. I mean, obviously, Romeo Bravo isn't his real name, right? You're
Yeah.
Dean Franco. I'm Paula Rubio. We're expressing our opinions, and people are going to disagree. People are going to agree, and that's fine.
I think he's
But
a
at least
PTK guy.
this guy, I don't know. This sounds like
I could be mistaken. He lives out west,
yeah.
Washington.
Well, you know, people like Romeo Bravo, and he's using a pseudonym. There's a lot of people who are feeling hurt, and they're feeling insecure, right?
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse, Dean, I've built a social media platform. You've built a social media platform. Here's somebody who may have been in it for far longer than us, whose opinions are being ignored. And so, like, to people like Romeo Bravo, I mean, my advice is to just work a little bit harder, let some of those scars heal. And the thing is, it's not terribly difficult to start a platform, and it's not terribly difficult to build a community and an audience. But I think there are a lot of people like Romeo Bravo out there who just they live this perpetual cycle of regret and insecurity, and the way the way it manifests is by spam, trolling, commenting on on social media platforms. Our intentions are good, and I think
and people know that. So
yeah, and that's okay. And I hope that doesn't rock your world too much. Let's leave him up here. Romeo Bravo thinks these are two uninformed and unknowledgeable opinions.
And obviously he's entitled to his opinion and all that.
Absolutely.
And I just hope I'm correct in the person I'm referencing, because if I'm not, apologies.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't even have the. There you go. There you go. But he doesn't even have the integrity to put his real face and his real name to the opinions that he holds. Right? Like, I've made mistakes in expressing my opinions, right? I'm sure there are some things you may have expressed that maybe you wish you didn't. But at least
absolutely. Of course.
At least
like
here we are, man. You know, and I think there's a lot of people in the Filipino martial arts who are kind of borderline that, and to them, I really want to make it known that I'll help you build your social media platform. You know what I mean? Like, I want all of FMA to grow.
Right, if we all grow, I mean,
right.
You raise right. I mean, like, and obviously you've substantiated by helping us get more subscribers in FMA discussion. So your track record speaks for that. So
I mean, thanks, bro. And here's Elric's comment. You are two non-insider opinions, which on one level is good. It hopefully helps insiders see how outsiders see and view everything. So, if I may, I'd like to share an analogy. And this is something that I shared in a conversation that I had. It's about the house smell.
The house smell? Okay.
The house smell. When you are constantly in one environment, you begin to develop desensitizations to those immediate surroundings. And what I'm trying to get at is that from an outsider's perspective, who just walked into Kalis Ilustrisimo, I can say, your house stinks. There's a smell.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? What smell? What is this smell?
What is this?
What is this smell? It smells normal here. Well, yeah, it smells normal here. You've been living in this house
30 years.
Exactly. And so I fully acknowledge that my opinions about Kalis Ilustrisimo is I'll say, like, it's uninformed. It is uninformed. It's less informed,
Well, I'm going to tell you,
right?
no, here's the thing. Do you know back in the day when I got Mark Weisman, I believed in the 5 pillars. I was hook, line, and sinker. Those
Yeah.
5 were it. Well, what happens? You get in the community,
Right.
you see, you listen, you
Yeah.
experiment, you open up your mind, and then before you know, you're looking back at and you're like, oh, that's what happened.
Well, man, look, at the end of the day, all of these Filipino martial arts systems are either founded by or run by Filipino guys.
Mm.
Like in some respects they're special and I appreciate them, but at the same time, it's not like they're running multi-million dollar corporate
Yeah, we're
businesses
not right.
with
IBM here.
solid infrastructure and logistics, and it doesn't work that way. And so there's a lot of falling out of love that happens in Filipino martial arts, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, oh, I thought he was this, but then I saw him drink and started talking all this racist stuff. Like they're just Filipino guys. They're
Right.
just regular Filipino guys, right? Or white guys or whatever
Right.
guys, right?
So did he have more? Wait, did he have more? Paulo, that's why
he's like, Paulo, that's why you'll never be invited. First of all, Elric, I love dying. Okay, I love bagoong. Balut doesn't even smell bad, but it's pretty gross. But anyway, hey,
did
look.
he have more? Dean works hard to stay nice. Yeah, I do. Thank you, and it's not easy all the time.
If you think about how much Dean loves Kalis Ilustrisimo and the fact that he invites ambassadors from every system who's willing to come on his show, like, come on. Dean, you're as close to perfect, man, as one can get as far as being apolitical and drama resistant. You know,
game comes with a price, though, man.
It does. Are you a millionaire yet from doing FMA discussion, or like...
that I tell you, that whopping 50 every few months, man.
$50, baby. I don't know what to spend, but even then, bro, like you take the earnings from FMA discussion and you don't even keep it. You know,
it all goes to charity. Yep, we
I'd buy a
collectively
knife,
agreed on that, and you know what? It does. I tell you what, though, it feels good to do. We all collectively agreed on it, and you know what? We're absolutely all fine with it. Hey, did Albert have more questions? I just feel bad if.
Yeah, he had a few questions, but you kind of got to it in a way. Question number 3 was: your appreciation and understanding of the art evolve through your interview? It
100%,
did.
100%.
By talking to these Filipino guys.
Absolutely, 100%, and
Good.
definitely like Ray Floro. I mean, for instance, talking to Ray Floro, you know, well, I had interviewed Ray before he came on for the KI themes, but in the KI theme, it was really interesting to hear how he has his less is more, like 7 things, and you know what he uses for. I mean, just Ray Floro. You know, again, some people say, well, use it on Philly KI. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, tactically speaking, he implements KI.
Oh, damn. Straight up. I love Ray Floro.
Yeah. So, like, for example, so I got to see his lens on that. I got more understanding of Romeo via Ray and Sean, and what he stresses as far as principles and tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who else I'm trying to think? Sixto was interesting to listen to. So, as a whole, to answer the question, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
How many hours was it in total?
Well,
I couldn't watch any one of it.
I would say among the 5, probably around, it was 9 hours, give or take, if I had to say.
Damn.
You know, probably, yeah, I would say maybe closer to the 10 side, but yeah, I would say somewhere around there. And I may do another one because a couple of people that
you
got left out, and I want to be able, like Boss Day, and I was hoping Master Norman will come on. Here's a before we get to Elric's next question, there was the disappointing thing of the epitheme episodes was that there were some who didn't come on, which regrettably I wish they had. I didn't really
Mm,
get somebody addressing the Lamaico sanction of KI. That was kind of a bummer. Peachy didn't want to come on. I was kind of hoping she would.
yeah.
Master Tom, Casey Ice, Vancouver there. I was hoping they would come on. Mong Romy. But I feel despite the few that didn't come on, I feel I did get good representation because even though
Hmm.
Mong Romy didn't come on, I still had Ray Floro and Sean Zerger. Even
Hmm.
though Peachy to come on, I still had the Carol lens. So even though, and I kind of filled in gaps from the Mego side from my experience with Dave. So not a total. So by no means was it there was a void per se.
Yeah.
You
There's
know,
always going to be a void, man.
yeah,
There's always going to be somebody with an opinion
yeah.
that was
So, but
unaccounted for.
overall, there it received great accolades. People seemed they were generally happy with
Yeah,
what they heard, what hearing from the different instructors from the different sanctions. So overall, I definitely think it was a success. You know,
that's good. Hey, you should get, I mean, you know, maybe down the road, but Mang Henry Espera
I've
on the show.
tried. We've tried to reach out to him, and he's a little reluctant
Hmm.
because of his English. But apparently, who's his top guy there? Starts with an A. Oh, wait, his top student, kind
Oh,
of the
Asagani Bon is that's he. Yeah, that
yeah.
guy's a great guy.
No, he
RRK is
seems
an
like it.
amazing system, man.
No. He seems like he is a great guy. He is supposed to coordinate with Henry and come on, and I'm hoping that materializes.
Yeah, and so just to let you know, I was in Manila. I was at the and I met with Master Henry Espera, and I got a ton of interviews with him talking about Tatang Ilustrisimo. And I
Mm,
think I got some flack for calling him the missing link of KI. But the stories that he told me about the time that he spent with Tatang Ilustrisimo, coupled with the fact that he's built like him,
very
like
tall, long
tall,
arms.
lanky, yeah. And so
No,
I was, that was a really illuminating experience
oh,
for
I can
me.
imagine.
I
No,
learned a lot.
I hope he
Plus, his
comes
boxing
on.
is killer.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he comes on. I hope that works out. I really do. It would be really wonderful to hear from him. I mean, the door's open, and that's
Yeah.
kind of why I left it with them.
I kind of like what RRK did in that in some ways they chose not to get into the infighting of KI and who spent time with Tatang and they just created their own thing. But let me tell you, man, RRK guys, number one, they can fight. And Mang Henry is a mad genius. He
Yeah.
is
No.
just
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. In fact, as my Filipino martial arts journey continues, I'm rewatching some of the stuff that we did, and I'm beginning to understand them a little bit better than I did
Yeah.
in that moment. But I think, and let me say this: if you are studying Kalis Ilustrisimo, you should make a pit stop and learn some RRK. This guy is the guy right here. If you guys can see that on screen,
Yeah. Okay, that's him. Yeah, and I'm hoping
Isagani Abona. Yeah,
I gotta. You know what? I am just for kicks. I'm gonna reach out to him again. It can't hurt, right? I mean,
yeah. And you should reach out also to Elephant Cali guy, Joseph Elephant.
oh, we had him on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a
Yeah. No.
great
No. He
guy.
was. Matter of fact, Tom interviewed him, and he presented well. I mean, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
he's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, let's talk more about your experiences. Geez.
Did we get through Alex questions? I just don't want to.
Yeah, I think we got through all of them. Oh, no. Question number 4 from Elric. What questions were not answered for you?
If I had to say like a subject area or topics that maybe perhaps didn't get covered or partially covered, again, I would point to Illustrissimo's time in Mindanao. I was hoping to
Mhm.
get maybe some more information on that. I was also hoping to get Yuli back on where I could have him with an interpreter and really extract from him just his solo time because
Mhm.
Yuli lived with Illustrissimo for a while.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Oh
know
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So just I, like that, that would have been nice. What else? Far as
Yeah, what questions were not answered for you?
um, that was there. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What others? I'm sure more will come to me. That's what immediately I remembered. Some what it would have been nice, and this would have resulted in maybe having Brand back on, but or better yet, Bruce, because Brandon wasn't even born yet. But some of the in-house training at Ricketts. So what happened was a lot of the training was at Ricketts' house,
Yeah.
and they would feed a lot of the video footage I'm seeing was there, and basically people would feed Ilustrisimo, and Ricketts would ask questions and film. It would be nice. That's why I was
Wow.
kind of maybe Romeo would come on because that would have been nice to kind of hear that interaction. You know what I mean? All of them together, how that
Sure.
went. But Brandon, I can't expect Brandon. He wasn't even born then, and Bruce was a baby, so that's out the
Yeah.
window. So who's left that was there? Romeo. So that would have been kind of neat, just that dynamic with all them together there training, how that went.
Have you ever heard him speak?
Who's that?
Tatang Ilustrisimo.
Oh yeah, in
On
the
any
video.
of the videos?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. Dark voice.
I don't think I've seen video of him talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That'll be interesting for me. You know what else I have no idea? Whether or not he was a good guy. Like I don't know if he was an ass. I don't know if he
I
was
mean,
kind.
everybody I talked to him says he was approachable. He was kind of funny. He was giving with his
Yeah,
time. He was
that's
somewhat
great.
entertaining on the stories he told. I mean, Burton. Here's a story Burton told me. When Burton went over there, they were sitting on the park bench, and somehow it came up about it was just one of his time in Mindanao when he kind of beheaded that guy over the beer incident. And
That's
was
so
so
Filipino.
and this is so ironic. You recall the whole thing blowing out near getting crap for the barong, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, guess what? The weapon he used to beheaded the person.
That was oh my gosh.
Well, now
For
obviously I wasn't there.
mhm.
Obviously, I can't test this, but this is what Illustrate told Burton, and this is what Burton told me that he used a barong, could lift up Cadena Real, boom, head rolling down, and et cetera, et cetera. But when the point I'm getting at, when he was telling Burton the story, at the time he was kind of chuckling, and Burton's just like, Burton's new to a new country. He's
Yeah.
and just the whole dynamic and experience. And here's this guy telling of this story of him taking this guy's head off. You know what I mean? And he's kind of chuckling about it.
It's what comes to my mind, right? Like first of all, I don't know if that actually happened, right? So I'm going to reserve my skepticism, and that's okay,
Yeah.
guys. Sorry, nobody filmed it.
There you go.
But
And that we get, and you know what? That's a valid point. And even though it's written in books, even though people tell that and all that, but do we know? No.
yeah, and here's the thing: I work with a lot. I've in my past work history, it was my job to speak with veterans of war
Mm.
about their experiences, right? And I don't know, maybe it's a cultural Filipino thing that a man in his 70s or 60s can casually talk about beheading and taking the
Mm.
life of another human being to a visitor from the West.
Mm.
Or maybe he was being a 70-year-old Filipino man telling stories.
Yeah. I mean, right. So, right. I mean, by all accounts, do we
I don't
have
know.
proof? And the obvious answer is no.
But here's the thing: there's going to be a lot of people who say, "Why would he lie? Why would he lie about that?" I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's
Right.
lying.
Right.
I'm
We're
just saying
saying,
some stories are
yeah.
impossible to verify, and that's cool. But
Yeah.
I've not met a single human being in my world travel speaking with veterans of war who tell those kinds of story nonchalantly unless we've been drinking a lot.
Mm.
Then it kind of comes out. Then it kind
Right.
of comes out. But who knows? And
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, another guy who's who had time with when he was still alive, Elric. Elric moved around them. Elric felt them. I mean, so there's another guy. Now I'm thinking about it, might be worth me to do another KI and get Elric on there too. But yeah, so as far as Elric's question goes, those kind of being the main two, his formidable years in Mindanao, what really took place there, you know what I mean? And the influence he extracted, which made him the fighter he was. Second question would be the dynamic and what really went on when in the Ricketts house when they were doing the filming and all that, and just the intercommunication, the socialization among them all together. That would be kind of nice to hear about,
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a question I shouldn't be asking, but DJF wrote, we need a fighting game with FMA masters. Imagine being able to play Tatang versus Leo Heron or Cabales versus Leo Gaye.
That's funny.
If there were...
Who's this? Do you know this person? Or?
No, I don't know this person. Okay. But I think if there would be an FMA masters fighting game, I mean, there's got to be a level where they just kind of sit around and drink beer and
after that, you're all gonna see them in Lumina Park.
But let me ask you this, right? And a question I shouldn't be asking: if all of these pillars and ambassadors, they were to just pick up a sword and duel it out, who would be the last man standing? Dean Franco, what do you think?
For sanction or individual?
No, fight to the death.
But I mean, so just individual.
Each at their prime.
Each at their prime.
And that's what,
okay. So
that could be one of those questions you don't answer, but it's interesting.
No. I mean, I'm gonna, and this has nothing to do with personalities and this and that. I'm gonna base on what was shared with me, and what was shared to me by an individual, that Ricketts and Edgar were kind of construed as the fighters. And Yuli up there and all that. I know that. And, not that Montoni didn't spar, he did. So I don't want people jumping on the bench, and all that. Again, obviously,
not that sparring, means you win, whatever.
So obviously, I wasn't
just
there.
An opinion.
Yeah, this is what was shared with me by a few guys. And basically, those guys said that those two generally were the fighters. Those are the ones who were more on the combative side, so to speak. Didn't really... Why there was a technical aspect to them, but they were more in the fighting. Because and it kind of makes sense. I mean, look at it. What was Ricketts' background? Boxing, kickboxing. He was.
Oh yeah.
He was sparring and fighting.
Yeah.
What was Edgar's? The Campo, Jose Caballero. You don't think they were mixing it up? I mean, and then his time with Gaye. So. Yeah, so now those two. Oof.
So final match would be between who? Ricketts and.
If you're talking about the pillars, yeah.
No, whoever.
I'm gonna go with the old clan.
Yeah, old.
And I'm gonna tell you, I've seen them both spar, and there's a video, and man, it's gonna be tough. Ricketts had that Ekis countering on the incoming attacks. Edgar had that
So Ricketts v. Solite in the finals. Is that what you're saying? We don't need to pick a winner.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, if you were to put your money on each one, you wouldn't be wrong. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be that day who had a good night's sleep and who was on point, literally.
Yeah. And so much depends on our emotional and physical condition
but again, that's not to say the other guys didn't spar. I don't want to get that misconstrued. You know what I mean? They all did, but everybody has their specialty. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Ray Galan was the organizer, the academia. He's put the stuff together. They all had their piece. You know what I mean? So,
do you know if Ray Galang and Mang Romy communicate?
I don't think they do.
Okay. If anybody out there knows, it's kind of.
I'm pretty confident. Status quo. They don't. No.
They don't. Oh, that's interesting.
Unless that's changed very recently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man. I'm I'm self-monitoring right now. I'm not asking questions that I really want to ask. Like what's the crappiest KI system out there? What's the most overrated KI system? Who's the biggest loudmouth in Kalis Ilustrisimo? Who is like, yeah, who's the most overrated Kalis
I do want to touch,
Ilustrisimo
I am going to say
practitioner?
this here. I'm going to kind of indirectly tackle some of your questions. Okay.
Oh shit. Okay.
So
Be
there's one
careful.
thing when I said that I was going to be honest about this and all that. And I'm actually, here's the thing. So, and this is in regards to Kiro Group, who I have nothing against. So, people that are watching this, please, please just try to have an open mind and really listen to what I'm saying and try to convey here. This is not an attack on Kiro or its leaders and all that. I think Master Arnold is exceptional for many reasons.
Yeah.
I think the way he took care of Montoni, etc., from what I hear, I think just obviously
Seems like a gentleman as well.
Yeah, outstanding human being.
Yeah, Arnold
His
Narzo.
dedication, loyalty, and all that.
Yeah,
100%. His students, though, and I'm talking about his students here. I think they're indirectly hurting him. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so based on the messages I get on Messenger regarding some of the comments they make in FMA discussion, I think they could be hurting him and all that. So now I have the appreciation for them being loyal to Master Arnold and Montoni. I really do. I have an absolute appreciation for that. However, though, some of their comments are being seen as like they're like the all-knowing and all this, and it's not going across well with the international community. And I know for absolute fact, Arnold has lost business from the international community based on what some of their responses or comments are. And that's all, that's so again, this is not an attack on Arnold. It's not an attack on Kiro. Okay. If I didn't like them or didn't have respect for them, they wouldn't have been on the show as a guest. So I don't want to hear that. And you're not going to have any momentum even trying that against me. However, they're students, and I've gotten a couple jousting matches with them because they say some stuff that they should really have thought about before they'd said it.
Students are, oh man, Dean, now you got me all fired up because again, I'm gonna take it back to PTK.
But this is trying to help Arnold because, like, again, it's not Arnold. I really don't think it's Arnold. I really don't. But students,
it's not Arnold. It's not the system. But some students just like run their mouth way too much, and they think they're promoting and speaking on behalf of their instructor, where in fact they're damaging them. Students ought to shut the fuck up sometimes. This happens a lot in Pikiti Tertia. This happens a lot in Pikiti Tertia, where students will run their mouth and they are abrasive and aggressive and they think they're doing their system a favor, but they're not. They're damaging the reputation.
I know it's a fact. And here's the thing. I'm not, obviously I'm not going to go into detail who this message, but I've gotten messages like, what's going on with Kira? Why are they like that? How come it's honest.
Yeah.
And I know they've lost the international business. I know. Now, can that be rectified? Of course. Should they be held where no, don't go no, I would never, that's Arnold's pocketbook, man. I would never fool around with that. And I just say, hey, well, look. No. So what I tell some of these people, I said, look, why don't you reach out to Master Arnold? Why don't you and all that? But some of his students would be better served if they really wanted to help Master Arnold and the Kiro sanction. They would just kind of.
Yeah. And again, Dean, you're not talking about, Master Arnold or Cairo. You're talking about specific individuals. These specific individuals exist in every system.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So it's not just obviously unique to KI.
Yeah, but we're talking about KI now. I've had disagreements with Pikiti Tertia practitioners, heated disagreements, and they don't know that their master actually agrees with me and sends me private messages. And it's just like, my God, I get it. And again, Predictably Irrational, this book that I read, it talks about accountability and ownership. And it's just, I know you love this system and I know you want to promote it, but some people, man, they're just like,
It's so, yeah. And what's so funny is some of the folk that are doing it, like like some of them are just so far off. Like one guy made this comment, and I tried not to get heated, but I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. And it was basically how there were no issues before GM Tony died, and that's crap. Because the moment the pillars came, there was issues. Like,
yeah,
I mean, so there were issues well before Montoni died. Now there more issues come about. Yeah, that's fair. But to say there were
right.
no issues, I mean, so just stuff like that. They would just be, if they just kind of thought before they commented,
Yeah.
they would probably be better serving to their organization.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% get what you're saying. And,
Mm,
yeah, I think you, you handled that quite well. You know what it is? And I want to mention this, Dean. Like, I don't like these guys who comment and speak on
mm,
behalf of their masters when they don't have the clearance to do so and they're just running their mouth.
mm.
But I have to acknowledge that they do that out of love. Like
That's
they,
my whole point, the loyalty. So right,
right?
what's your point? So I have the appreciation for that, sure.
I get it, right? I get that you love
Mhm.
this thing so much that you begin to hate the other thing.
Yeah.
And I understand that again, we overvalue the things that belong to us and the things that
Mhm.
we invest in. But sometimes how we manifest into words, sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
going back to that car, that you love, and now that you're trying to sell it and promote it to this market, and you're
Right.
like, well, I banged 16 chicks in the back seat. Like, that's gonna devalue the car.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
want
Just
those
because,
stains. You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
right. The guy
And
who's coming along and taking a look at the back seat.
so yeah, just to acknowledge that even these,
Yeah.
these people who end up damaging their systems by getting insulting and rude online, they're doing it out
Mhm.
of love. And so if you're one
Yeah.
of those guys who just talk like, or just chill, just chill.
Yeah, matter of fact, one of the guys I'm talking about, and I have nothing against this guy. Matter of fact, I actually see and appreciate his emotion, like his devotion to Mong Tony's section. I mean, you can feel it. So that's why I didn't go like I just didn't like get emotional myself or attack him because I was seeing that resonate through his comment. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think he's indirectly among others, not just him. I don't want to just pick on it, but
Hmm.
long run, I think they're indirectly affecting, their perception, how they're perceived.
Right. Oh, question from Joe Bates. Hey, if you guys are reading this, if there are
Are
any
there
Kalis,
AKI in New Jersey? No, I think the closest one, Joe, there is something going on in Maryland. Matter of fact, I think this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, Alex is going to do something in Maryland on Saturday. I think after the next closest from Maryland, New York. Raul Marquez is in New York
cool,
City. That probably would be the closest to you as far as New Jersey, but New Jersey, not that I'm aware of. No.
cool. Oh, I don't know who this guy is, but you're doing that seminar with Slavin and Marco on the 2-on-1. You can shut that out if you would
Oh yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's Glenn. Yeah. Are you all about that?
All about that. I'm assuming that's what that is, right?
Yeah,
Unless you
yeah,
have
yeah.
some
That's so
inside joke.
basically Marco and Slavin. They call their organization boss. Yeah, yeah. Are you all about
Boss.
that, boss? Glenn, and that's a funny guy.
What's it stand for? Do you?
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna
I
make it up.
knew
I'm
it.
gonna make it up. It stands for Baltic Assault Stab System. There you go.
System.
No, but
So
yeah,
so
check
we
that out.
can we
That's
can assume system is definitely the last word. Okay, so we just got to figure out what's the first three.
it seems interesting. And those guys are, we've had our disagreements in the past, but they love the Filipino martial arts, and
Yeah.
they can really delineate art from practicality. So
Yeah,
go check those guys out.
that's why I'm doing with them, because even though we do things slightly different for ours at 2-1, we're pretty much in the same lane as far as what works and what's just out there, and basically just fairyland.
Yeah, 2-on-1. That's what it's all about. I'm a firm believer.
Yeah.
And like even you and I and Burton, it's like, well, inside 2-on-1, outside 2-on-1.
I know. Matter of fact, I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow, because I'm hoping he's going to be ready to go with that, because the meds have been making him feel better. So I have not forgotten. I definitely still want to do that with us three for sure.
Right on. Okay, Dean, I think this is going to be unless we get on a tangent, my last question, right? So somebody who doesn't have any Kalis Ilustrisimo experience, and they've got a buttload of money and all the time in the world, and they go to you, Dean Franco, and they say, I want the world tour. I want the complete Kalis Ilustrisimo picture. What you're responsible for now, based on this question, is the sequence of which you direct them to an instructor. So would you be like, start with Mang Romy, and then go with Yuli, and then go with Brandon? So take a second to think about it.
Okay. No. First, I would find geographically where they live. You know what I mean?
No, they're millionaires. So this is a cool hypothetical. Money's not an issue. Travel's not an issue. Okay. COVID doesn't exist, and this is the ideal, in your opinion, the ideal KI circuit. So that by the end of that, they really got a good understanding of KI. Okay, who would they start with? Who would go along the way, and who would they end with?
Okay, so who to start with? Wow, that is a phenomenal question. I would have them start with, for the fundamentals of the strikes and all that, Kiro or Ricketts section. Fundamentals. I said, look.
So either Brandon or Arnold.
Correct. Your freaking fundamental footwork, your fundamental strikes.
Boom.
Then I would direct them definitely to Ray Floro and Mang Romy on the Unabogata, as well as David Gould on the Praction and Unabogata. I would have them definitely visit Yuli to get that flavor, his flavor. And I'm trying to think. I think I covered everybody as far as quote unquote the main folks that are currently still alive.
What about Bangumi?
No, Bangumi included. I put him there with Ray. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So in other words, like I'm looking at first, second generation people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, yeah. Could they go out and see Burton? Sure. Could they go out and go see Sean Zerger? Sure. Oh, Tommy Dye in Canada. They should definitely make a stop there. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tommy Dye, Brandon, Arnold, Ray Floro, Romeo, Yuli. Man, those six. Man, if you got with those.
Damn.
Six,
okay. Like and then send them to the boudoir to test out what you've learned.
Yeah. So then when they're done, then they have to take a flight to Toronto, and then
boom.
What you got?
Yeah. That sounds like an amazing. And wouldn't it be great if these guys can be in one place and just get along, and have all the KI people just experience the beauty, the elegance, the sophistication, the brutality of Kalis Ilustrisimo?
And well, one of the things I'm going to try to do is, we already kind of talked about it with Dax, is that I'm going to, I mean, it's in its infancy right now, but one of the things where I'm going to consider, or not, I shouldn't say consider, I'm going to try to get going and get the wheels going, is kind of a North American KI thing. So what that would be basically would be getting Sean, Dax, your Canada guys, and then somebody, Vico, Brandon, if Brandon was visiting, And who am I? Baste, he's in Atlanta. Obviously, he'd be more than welcome. So basically, your KI instructors and within North America collectively get them in a kind of a neutral, as far as geographically speaking, city. Wouldn't that be neat?
That would be
Like North
amazing,
America,
man.
you know?
Yeah,
Somebody's
if
got to
anyone
try
can make
it,
it happen,
right?
Dean, it's you, bro.
I'm
You
going to
can make
try. I
it
mean,
happen.
all I can do is try, right? And
I
see
know.
there. Here's the thing, though. I got a question for you here. When you look at KI, what
Mhm.
attracts you? Techniques? Do you look at it from a tactics or technique point of view?
Well, look, my KI foundation really. There's Archie Luz here in Toronto who showed me some preliminary concepts,
Mm-hmm.
and through no fault of his own, I didn't get it just by virtue of where I was in FMA. Right? I'm like, oh, this seems complicated. But looking back now, he's a he's a Tony Diego guy. He's
Oh
a
no, Archie.
boxer.
I
He's
got
a
an
Golden
interview.
Glove guy.
Great
So
guy. Oh yeah.
amazing. Archie Luz, if you're
Yeah.
in the Toronto area, go seek him out. But my actual foundation in Kalis Ilustrisimo was in a wooded area with Fabrizio and
In a
Sean
van
Zerger.
down by the river with.
I swear there was something very timeless about that.
Yeah, but you
We
know what though?
were,
That was 3 or 4 years ago.
yeah,
That's not that would like one time I watched that video a few times, and
yeah,
and I tell you why, because I've seen such. I mean that you're not the same person then, not even remotely close, and you wouldn't have gotten
I
hit
don't
by
think
that
so.
one shot. And then the one shot I'm referencing is where you actually crossed his midline and he just
Yeah,
did a box sock, and I'm thinking like, there's no way Paula would do that now. There's no way. You know what I mean?
no.
You know?
Also, that video, you have to understand, I was feeding. But you know what I love about how Fabrizio teaches KI? By the way, he broke two of my bones with a steel machete in that lesson. And through no fault of his own, it was based on the inadequate equipment that I had, and it was a 1 in a million shot. It went between,
Oh,
cracked my knuckle,
okay, okay.
cracked my elbow, X-rays, fractured. But what I loved about Fabrizio, and this is how I get to meet masters from all over the world, right? It's
Mm,
based on this Socratic engine where I ask questions and then they just keep going and going and going.
mm.
A lot of my questions from Fabrizio, he answered with, I'm going to try to do an impression of Fabrizio. Don't ask me with words, Paolo. Don't ask me with words. Ask me with the actions. And so a lot of those things would be like, okay, instead of me trying to articulate what you would do with this, I would just feed him that. So
Mm.
I wasn't sparring with him,
No, I got you.
right? But also at the same time, like you said, I'm not the same, fighter. I'm not the same Filipino martial artist three
Never
years ago than
happened
I am
today.
today,
Never happened
right?
today.
But that was my foundation, man. And I'm
Yeah,
so grateful that I got Fabrizio and Sean Zerger
yeah.
to lay down this foundation through the way that we did it. And based on that, I traveled and I brought it to the Philippines and I fought with KI.
Mm.
I
Good.
brought it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
eh,
awesome.
it's incredible.
Where's he
What
live
I
now, Fabrizio?
He lives in Montreal right now. In
Montreal.
Montreal.
Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
Quebec. Okay.
And so, again, this is just based on who I am, right? And going back to this car analogy that we seem to keep going back to,
The back seat.
the back, well, the chassis of my Filipino martial arts is Pikiti Tertia.
Yeah.
And because I'm so not concerned with learning the totality of Pikiti Tertia, which is so vast, so many subsystems, so many weapons, so many weapon combinations,
Mm.
I don't bother to learn A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? I see it principally, and that's the chassis that I layer concepts that I pick up from Kalis Ilustrisimo on top of,
Yeah.
right? And so my lutang may come as I'm charging forward, cutting 45 degrees, and then I see an opportunity for a lutang. I wouldn't have gotten there unless my Pikiti Tertia footwork got me in range.
Gotcha. No, I understand. Yeah. No, right.
right?
No.
And my fighting style is very much like Tinkerbell. I'm like, I really love putting myself in danger, and I get hit a lot because of it,
Yeah, but
right?
I think you're learning through I don't know. I think what you're doing is great. You're learning through failures, man. You're not gonna learn anything through success, right?
Absolutely. And so by putting KI on this Pikiti Tersha chassis, I it can be characterized as inefficient because I'm moving around a lot. Like I'm charging, I'm cutting, but then there are moments in my fight where I'm just like, I'm just gonna be stoic.
You're gonna slow everything down and take full lens in and all that,
Boom.
right? And
And
that,
I'm just like
yeah,
this turret and I'm in
yeah,
KI mode.
yeah,
But for most of what they've seen is me doing Pikiti Tersha. When
yeah,
I flip the switch and I do KI, they're like, what? And so they attack, and I'm doing my retiradas and my lutangs, and
yeah.
I look cool doing it because it's something completely different from the style looks that I presented them at the first half.
Right.
And then I go into walk, and I think it's just beautiful in that way. I mean, no disrespect to it. I'm sure all of
No,
these
I don't think
systems are
anybody's seeing.
complete,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
like to layer it, and I think it's really. By the way, man, what's that? The lutang with that strike,
Box
the
hawk.
baksak,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
My
So,
goodness,
so Ricketts, okay.
that's
So
such a
very
critical tool
upright.
for me.
I mean, like very pronounced here.
Yeah,
Yuli has an arco to his Yuli, here and then cuts around. But
yeah.
yeah,
So when you do that, Dean,
what's that?
because how I like to do it is I bait with my lead leg. So I almost get into a boxing stance where it's very wide.
Guess who does that?
Well, I don't know.
Brandon.
He does that. It's
My
so
God.
good, man. It's so
Sets that
inviting.
leg
That lead
up.
leg.
Yeah.
Oh, because
Yep.
it to your opponent, it seems like you have all of your weight on that
Yeah.
lead leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because of your weight shift, they think that they're gonna catch that leg, but it's
I know.
lighter than they think, and then
Brandon makes it.
bam.
Yeah. But Brandon does the same in Gagno with his leg, pushes it out there. They think
Yeah.
they got it. And then he does a quick, like, hip shuffle back. And yeah.
Damn. I
The reason
gotta
why I asked you
fight
that question
Brandon.
is, yeah, the reason why I asked you that question is because of the videos I've seen of you, you are embracing, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, you are embracing KI tactics. I
Oh
see
yeah.
you let it just try to miss you and get behind at boudoir. I see you playing with the cloak and all that, the proximity. So, in my opinion, I think you are embracing and all that, and I think that's fantastic. And where I'm going with this is the argument that you need 20 years. Okay, 20 years for refining your techniques, your strikes. Absolutely. You don't need 20 years to get the tactics and how to implement them in the fight.
No, and the thing is, like, we have so much opportunity, and people are coming together that maybe it took 20 years back then because the opportunities to spar and test were less than they are today.
But
But
today,
you can put KI in a hypodermic needle and just stick it right into the vein,
yeah,
man, and it'll pulse through your body. I love Kalis Ilustrisimo so
I just
much.
got KI'd.
I know. Hey, is there a generic KI logo? Because I got this. Well, I kind of hit it, but there's
What's
that
that?
Pikiti Tersha.
So,
I hit it, so it's like the sun with a
well, here's the
Ka
thing.
symbol and the three arrows. But I
Not
would
that I'm
like to
aware of.
rep KI.
Matter of fact, the reason why I put Ilustrisimo's picture in the flyer to me because I didn't want anybody. I didn't want to pick somebody's logo and everybody else is like, well, see, he favors those guys. He picked their logo, so I wanted just something neutral. But to answer your question, I don't think there's a generic. Not that I'm, and if I'm wrong, if there is one, somebody please, definitely tell
Yeah.
Paul. But to my awareness, I don't think there's anything generic, as far as I know. Anyhow.
I might just tattoo KI and my own interpretation, because that's how I
Yeah.
view Kalis Ilustrisimo anyway, through my own
Yeah,
lens.
but not that I'm aware, but there could be. I just not that I can think of at the moment, as far as what would be kind of your generic KI. Yeah.
But for the people who are watching this content by old man still can, so this KI video that I documented with Fabrizio, when Sean was his training partner. If you guys contact Fabrizio, he'll get it to you. And it is my foundation in KI,
Yeah.
and really what Fabrizio and Sean as well to this day. Sean is so active and he's so explorative, and he's a risk taker when it comes to his expression of KI.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he honors, his agreement with Mang Romy to just keep
Right.
KI the way it's, we're
Yeah.
preservationists.
No, I know, and I got that feel from him when I was interviewing him.
Absolutely beautiful. I love that relationship, but at the same time, Sean is a dog brother, and these things will come out when you fight him.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
Which is that's awesome. I mean, that's what it's. Yeah, no, it was enjoyable interviewing him and all of them. I mean, they all. I tell you, every single person I had on interviews all had something to offer. They really did. They all had their piece. It was all something new and informative and enlightening. So I have to, a big thanks to all those that participated. Mark Wiley, Brandon, Yuli, Regalon. Third one was Arnold, surprise visit from Brandon, Vico, Duran,
Ray.
Then the fourth was Ray and Dax, and then the fifth Sean Zerger and Sixto. But they all, I tell you, they all had something to offer and contribute to the theme series, and I'm just thankful. And those who are watching this, I highly recommend, if you get the chance, to watch all 5 of them. You're going to get something different, because I particularly tailored my questions for each theme episode based on who was there. So obviously, when I had the pillars on, the remaining 2 kind of geared towards pillar stuff and early times with the Ilustrisimo. When I had, for instance, when I had Kiro and then Brandon showed up and all that, well, then I kind of went into compare and contrast between Kiro and Ricketts sanction. But I highly, if you can, watch all 5. You're gonna just see and hear some really interesting content on KI.
Man,
so I urge you.
You need like an editing assistant, Dean, because honestly, I can't watch a 2-hour, 3-hour interview.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, so, and like these gems.
I can't either. The people who do that, I give so much credit to the people that want, because I'm thinking like I see the views and I'm like, wow, I really give these people credit, because there's no way I could go on YouTube and watch a 2-hour thing.
I can't do it. Live is different. I'll watch it live. Maybe I'll watch 2 hours live, but I can't watch.
But
recorded.
I think live, because of the dynamic and you're seeing the comments, you're kind of engaged. But like, much to your point, I couldn't go on there and just go
right.
Okay, I'm going to sit down now and watch this 2-hour video.
So all you guys watching live right now, this is friggin' special. And if you're not watching this live, I wouldn't watch it either. But by the way, leave a comment. I'm gonna pop it up on screen. Let me know what you guys think.
Paulo, is there a way, when you download, can you send me?
I'll send it to you.
Oh, it's not too much trouble? Okay.
No, not at all. Guys, by the way, leave a comment. I'm gonna pop it up here. Let me know what you think of Dean Franco. Let me know what you think of FMA Discussion. I think it's just an amazing thing. And I honestly believe, Dean, the value of what you're doing is not going to be really fully appreciated until way down the line, when we're all gone.
Some people say that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just talking to people. And there's like, no, you don't understand. You're making this library that's going to be appreciated years down the road. And I'm like,
yeah, man. So much has been lost in FMA's near history because it lacked this outlet. We live in very special times. Unfortunately, that means you get to hear from, a-holes like me now and then, but at the same time, you get something like FMA Discussion that documents these masters in their own words, right?
Yeah.
So, by the way, can I make an offer to you
Sure.
if you'd like? Because maybe, some Filipinos, they have this insecurity about speaking English. Meanwhile, they know it really, really well,
Okay.
right? So if you ever have a need for somebody who can speak in Tagalog with them and also interpret at the same time, I can be that
Sure.
guy.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I can speak Tagalog fluently.
Wow. Well, can you, how about you and Master Henry coming on?
Yeah, that's possible. I think he likes me. He gave me a
No,
big hug.
I'm sure he does. That's why that would be wonderful. If you don't mind, I would love to get you two on.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And
Oh my
and
gosh.
Mang Henry is somebody that, again, if you love KI or FMA in general, this man is a true living legend.
Do you talk to him frequently, or
No, I actually don't. I don't talk to him a lot. I see his videos, I comment on it. Sometimes he gives me the thumbs up, but
well, if you
we
don't mind,
don't
I
have
mean,
that
I
kind of.
would greatly appreciate it. I would definitely get you both on. That would be wonderful. Yeah.
Right on. Hey, Elric made a comment.
What's that?
He talks about this Socratic method, right, where the learning is based on the questions from the students. And he says that Socratic learner directed questioning is how most learn directly from Tatang. It is only now that folks need to first go through a curated curriculum. So how I learned from Fabrizio is how they learned from
Yeah, I'm sure
Tatang.
that was intentional on Fabrizio's part, which, and that does, I don't mean that in a bad way at all, that he had you like feed him and to better describe,
Yeah.
What he wanted to emulate or show to you. And I agree with Elric saying, based on that, and which is why I think Yuli has so much to offer in this area, because Yuli really went into detail when I meet with him one-on-one, how he goes like, well, you have to understand, I was back here and I would see from a different angle things he was doing. It's so fascinating to listen to Mont Yuli just go on in that, but much to his point,
I was about to ask you a follow-up question in that, some people are very articulate and they can speak really well on KI, but who do you think can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you think would be one of the best instructors to learn KI from that is based on the students' needs and questions and curiosities? Like, what if I did this to you? How would you deal with somebody cutting 45 degree and doing a panastas from Pikiti Tertia? Like, who would be the best instructor in KI to handle that kind of energy?
I think Dave, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I know he's not looked at through a lens of KI, David Gould.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just from my experience, someone that can show you why you would do this, why you would do that, why you would reposition there based on that, why you would do Boca de Lobo versus Australia or Vertical. He's just somebody that's, and I'm there, and trust me, there's more out there. He's just the one that first came to my mind.
Got it.
But I'm sure Vico, he's another one. I mean, Brandon too. Brandon too. Yeah. I mean,
it'd be Sean and Fabrizio for me.
Yeah, because that's who you were exposed to. Right. So
I'm so biased, man. I'm so biased. I mean, really.
Yeah, but you know what though? We have to be honest, and this is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like we all have our biases. Now, okay, as much as so this is where I'm gonna be honest to the community. As much as I gave every sanction or offered the opportunity for every instructor, sanction, organization to be heard, it's very clear I have my biases. I mean, but that doesn't mean if somebody came to me, my answer to them would be, you should go see as many KI instructors as humanly possible if you want to really, really get the essence of all their translations or their nuances or everything they got maybe from first, second generation of painting. But see as many as you can to get the best understanding for you.
Fantastic. Dean, we're approaching the second hour of this interview. Let's cut it off here.
Yeah. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course, man. This FMA thing, right?
Yeah, I know. Toxic, huh? Hey, we could have worse vices, right?
We could. We could.
So final thoughts. So
Final
my final
thoughts, Dean.
thoughts would be in regards to the theme of episodes is if you are interested in pursuing KI, again, check. I mean, whether your concerns are geographic, if money's not an issue and all that, I would definitely try to see as many as you can. I'm more than willing to help in any way. If you want to message me, I get a few messages every month who I should go train with and all that. So I'm used to these messages, and I'll give you an accurate, honest, descriptive account based on your needs, based on your background, based on what you're looking for, your personality type, an honest answer who I would recommend for you to go train with. But ultimately, I'm going to still tell you you should make it full circuit as much as humanly possible and get exposure from everybody. It's only going to better yourself. How's that for final thought?
I love that, Dean. I love that, and that makes a whole lot of sense, right? I characterize Pikiti Tertia in the same way that I seem to see KI, and that Kalis Ilustrisimo is a puzzle, and that all of these pieces, right? Maybe they're fragmented, maybe some puzzle pieces are connected to others, and maybe there are gaps. But for the practitioner, for you to get the full picture, you really need to touch these puzzle pieces,
Yeah.
put them together.
Don't you want to be the best version of yourself? Why wouldn't you go do that?
Absolutely.
If somebody gave me a plane ticket to freaking Philippines, or you better believe I could go seek out Monroe. You better believe I could go seek out Yulee. Somebody gave me a ticket to Australia. You better believe I go seek out Ray Flora and all that. Why? I want to be the best version of me. I want to give the best to my students.
Right.
So,
And Dean, do you teach KI now?
Yes, I just started. Brandon said, look, I want you to go start doing it. I want you to propagate our system, but better yet, I want you to get a better understanding through the teaching lens and all that. So, so I have, and I'm glad. And I got to be honest, I had a little self-doubt in the beginning doing it because I consider myself on as far as seniors and all that. But finally, I just said, you're not a newbie in the community. Buckle up your pants and embrace this role. But I'm gonna be honest, I kind of question myself, and I don't think I should have, but good. I did.
No, that's good. That's good. I think too many people jump prematurely into instructor roles, and I always think it's good to have a little bit of insecurity, as long as these insecurities drive you to action to get better. I think that's incredibly. What's the word I'm looking for? I think that's appropriate. I think that's how everybody should be. No instructor should be so confident that they don't question their methodologies.
Right. And then obviously I've gotten more comfortable in the role. My confidence is going up. My understanding is going up because I'm now relaying the information. I'm seeing it through a different lens now. So it's been a very helpful experience for me to do it.
Did you come up with any original drills for KI?
Not as of yet. See, what I'm hoping, like when it comes empty hand against knife, like, okay, I got here. Okay, well, pop the elbow off and move yourself on the wall. What if you got to grab here? Swim in the like I can come up on a dime empty hand knife when it comes, but I'm not there yet with KI.
Huh.
I think it'd be neat to get there. Don't get me wrong. I would love to get there, but
come up with some games, man. Come up with some games.
I'm sure it will. It will.
Lutang games, man. I think Lutang Retirada with the Baksak is, flagship for me, in my opinion, KI. And if you can come up with a game or a drill that will really hone that.
Right. Right. I just got to get out of that mindset and take the mindset which I put so deeply in one area and now expand on it. Hey, look, if you could do it over there, it's fair to say you could do it over here. So I think it's more of a mental thing with me, honestly.
Work it out. I think you need more KI students so that you can continue to craft. So guys, go contact Dean Franco if you want to be directed to the Kalis Ilustrisimo system based on your personality, your character, your journey, your experience level. Contact Dean Franco. He's gonna put you in the right path, and you just have so much love for KI, and I think that is admirable. I think it's evident, right? So thank you, Dean. Thank you for
my
thank you
God,
for
thank
being you.
you. It's been wonderful. And I'm so, man, I was like, man, I'm going on. So is it Dumpster Fire or is it FMA Source?
I gotta change the name. So FMA Source is the channel. The podcast, I called it the FMA Dumpster Fire Podcast, and that was a joke.
Okay.
That I was like, like the boudoir was a joke,
Right,
right?
right. No,
Who's
but
gonna call a
it's stuck
fighting group
now.
called a boudoir?
Well, I just want to say it's been an honor to be on FMA Source podcast, FMA Dumpster Fire. So
there you go. All right, Dean, you stay well. Keep doing what you're doing. We love
all
you
right.
for it. And
Yeah, don't be
more
a
power to
stranger
you.
because 2-on-1 with Burton.
Let's go. All right, Dean. I'll see you later, brother.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. All right, everybody. Woo! That was a good one. That was 2 hours. If you guys watch this live, what a treat. I think that was really cool. Thank you very much for, spending your time watching this. So if you enjoyed it, a few requests. If you aren't already subscribed to FMA Source on YouTube, takes 2 seconds, homie. Like, go on YouTube, type in FMA Source, hit subscribe. Next favor, please do the same for FMA Discussion. I can't stress enough how important the work of Dean Franco and his admins are. It is a thankless job, you guys. Like, there is no money in this. There's no glory in this. He does it for the love of the Filipino martial arts. So just go head on over. Again, it seems like a little thing to just go hit that subscribe button, but it is the ultimate currency in social media land to have a subscriber to your YouTube channel. So I appreciate it very much. If you guys can just take the time, FMA Source, FMA Discussion, that would be really cool. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who commented. Dean is super duper approachable. He makes time. So go contact him if there's anything that we missed from this conversation. And there's probably a lot. And there are probably people out there who are thinking, oh, you didn't mention this person or that person. This is not the end. Man, I'm a Pikiti guy. But I'm not that Pikiti. I'm not that kind of Pikiti. But I love KI. I love it. And, both of these arts are going to live for a really, really, really long time. And together as a community, if we can make steps towards some kind of unity, if not unity, civility for the sake of this art that we love, man, we are living in an extraordinary time, you guys, right? We lost so much in the near history of the Filipino martial arts. We have an opportunity to build monuments today. So even if you're out there and you're thinking, I don't want to go on a podcast, and that's not my style. Listen, it's going to amount to something. And maybe the value of that thing you may never ever get to see, but I guarantee you there's somebody watching this, there's somebody watching that and that video, there's somebody who watched your TikTok video, there's somebody who watched your Instagram post, and you will never get to see that person, you will never get to know their name, but you made a huge difference in their life. So please continue sharing your expression of the Filipino martial arts. Be forward and transparent when you've made mistakes. Like, damn it, I've made so many mistakes in FMA. It's ridiculous. But I'm still on a journey. You guys are all still in a journey. Just be fearless with sharing this just amazing, amazing gift. This is a gift from the Philippines to the world, right? The headquarters of FMA will always be in the Philippines. That's never, ever going to change, no matter how big it gets in France and Germany and Canada and the United States and Brazil, whatever. FMA is Philippines. So if you get the opportunity, go back to the motherland, right? Go see some masters in the Philippines. There are a lot of them, and they're waiting for you. Philippines sometimes gets a bad rap, but it's safe, man. And the food is incredible. The people are amazing. The vibe of the Philippines is just something to be experienced. It's a great vacation destination. And if you can pair your vacation with your martial arts training, win, win, win. All right. So keep training. Look at this stuff. Thank you guys very much. Hey, Brandon was watching. Shout out to you, brother. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you for watching FMA Source. Big shout out to FMA Discussion, and a huge thanks to Dean Franco. And thank you, people. Thank you for studying the Filipino martial arts. And just remember, as much as we love this thing, there's a way to express our love for it that is going to be beneficial to the systems that we love. And with that, thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time. My name is Paulo Rubio, aka GN. Peace now for the dopest outro in all of FMA podcast land. Good night.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go.
You're finished! No!
Get up. Gotta wake up, bitch. Get up.
Oh.
Get up. Get up.
Before it, launch the counterattack.
We need to launch a full federal investigation into why and how this happened. Who allowed this?